This is Tyrese Haliburton, and you're listening to Setting the Pace.
All right, everybody, what is going on? Welcome back to another episode here of your go-to Pacers podcast, Setting the Pace. I'm your host, Alex Golden, and joining me is Michael J. Facci, and today we're talking about the Pacers losing Game 2 of the NBA Finals, 123-107. Before we get into that, Facci, I just want to let everybody know this episode is brought to you by our great friends over at ChatBCC. If you have not downloaded the app, please follow the link in the description and be a part of the Pacers conversation over at ChatBCC and the Setting the Pace group chat. But Facci, back to the game now, 123-107. No pep in the step today, but tough environment to play in.
Tough environment. I just felt like OKC, not to say a must win, but you could very well argue a must win for OKC. If you lose both games at home and you're going to Indiana for the next two, there would be some serious panic. I felt like OKC came out with a bit more of a sense of urgency, like really needing this one. Pacers in the first quarter had some moments where they were hanging around, but really only led for about a minute and a half in this whole entire game. In the second half, it was all OKC.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at the first half, like obviously the second quarter was where this game kind of got lost, but I think it even starts early at the end of the first quarter. The
Agreed.
Pacers were up 20-17. They let OKC go on a 9-0 run, then they get outscored 33-21 in that second quarter. So really, that's like a 42-21 swing there for OKC, and it really just felt like, okay, I don't think the Pacers are going to make a comeback in this one. You can kind of tell when maybe there's a little bit of hope potential, right? Like they'd got it down to 6 in the third quarter last game before SGA hit that step back three. But in this game, when it was 18-point deficit going into half, and then the Pacers have their second best scoring quarter of this series with 33 points, and they still get outscored by 1 point, and they're down by 19 going into the fourth. At that point, I knew there was no comeback going to be coming in this one, and I'll give a lot of credit to OKC's defense. I think that they really made things difficult for Indiana, specifically in that first half. I mean, let's just talk about this. 34.9% from the field for the Pacers. They shot 31.8% from three on just 7 of 22 shooting. When you shoot that low of a percentage, Facci, and you're supposed to be this high-powered offensive team, it's going to be hard to win those games.
It really is. And in specific, there was a 19-2 run in the second quarter by OKC that really kind of busted this game open. And Indiana went on a 10-0 run of their own at one point. It felt like 13 points was just about as close as Indiana ever really got it. Once that second quarter had really started and that run happened by OKC. So it was tough, but I know in specific, OKC was doing a lot of damage in the first half in the paint. They led 26-12 in terms of paint points in that first half. Double bigs. Chet really brought it tonight. Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein, I think, were two guys that played better in this game in terms of, I know Isaiah's not going to really show up, but he was a plus 17 in this game. But I felt like those double bigs were more effective. OKC just overall, their depth really showed in this game. They had 5 players score 15 or more. I saw that was the most players score 15 or more in the NBA Finals since the 2019 Raptors. And we've heard about OKC's depth all season long, especially coming into this series. Tonight, they absolutely showed it.
Yeah, the fact that OKC had 4 guys outscore the Pacers' leading scorer, that's not going to cut it. And we look at the percentages, and they don't look too bad after the game. I think Indiana's offense really started getting some rhythm in that third quarter. I mean, I felt like Myles Turner started getting going. The guy that never really got it going tonight for Indiana was Pascal Siakam, in my personal opinion. He had 15 points, but it just didn't feel like it was very effective. 3 of 11 from the field. Aaron Nesmith started going there at the end of the third, didn't really play much in the fourth, even if I don't even know if he played in the fourth at all. They went to Ben Shepherd to start the fourth with the starters. So, just some interesting combinations. I know Rick Carlisle was trying to tinker with some things here, but to me, I really felt like this game was lost more so on how the Pacers defended. I felt like early on against the small ball lineup, the Thunder did not change their starting 5. They kept that same starting 5 out there. I thought Indiana figured out some ways they could attack that, but when they went to that bigger lineup with Hartenstein and Chet in there, it did seem problematic for Indiana, and Indiana was trying different things. They went to his zone, but for the majority of the game, they were really trying to wall off SGA. It almost looked like they were building that wall like they've done against Giannis in previous series, right? And to me, I just don't think SGA is the type of player that you need to build the wall on. I understand sending additional help when he starts to drive and trying to make him be a passer, but I felt like for him in this game, he had a terrific scoring game, 34 points, but it only took him 21 field goal attempts. He did get to the free throw line 12 times in this game, But I just think the fact that he only had to put up 21 shots compared to 30 in the previous game, it just kind of showed you how he didn't have to be as, heliocentric, so dominant with the basketball. And that to me was the first problem for Indiana, was he was able to get to that 30-point range that he's normally used to getting to without putting up a ton of shots.
Yeah, definitely made a big difference. And, I mentioned before another thing, OKC's role players. I mean, you really had guys like Aaron Wiggins off the bench give you 18 points after he had just 3 points in game one. You had Alex Caruso put together a 20-point game off the bench. He's obviously defending it very well, but gives you 20 after he just had 11 points in game one. Chet was someone that had, I want to say, 7 points, really wasn't much of a factor in game one. He gives you 15. So I just felt like overall OKC was just better. But another big factor in this game was Tyrese Haliburton through essentially 3 quarters. I mean, Tyrese Haliburton through 3 quarters had 5 points, 4 assists, and there's 3 turnovers, I believe. It was really like nothing. He might have, when you look at the box score, you might see a 17-point, 6-assist game and say, okay, on 7 of 13 shooting, great. 12 of those 17 points came in the fourth quarter when this game was completely out of reach, and he went 5 of 6 from the field in that fourth quarter. So I just felt like through 3 quarters, he wasn't looking for a shot as much. The shots that he was putting up were threes. And I felt like when he did kind of drive it towards the paint, he wasn't looking for a shot. He was kicking it back out. And I just feel like you're not going to win these games if Tyrese Haliburton has 5 points going into the fourth quarter and uncharacteristically 6 assists, 5 turnovers. We had a series, against the Knicks where he had like 1.5 games where he didn't have a turnover. So I think in this instance, just not vintage Tyrese. You could live if he has 12, 14 points, if he has like maybe 12 assists or so, but that was just not the case tonight.
Yeah, I would say the Knicks defense versus the Thunder defense is a drastic difference. I mean, but just some silly turnovers where steps behind half court when Caruso's guarding him, I'm not even aware of where he's out on the floor. It's kind of like, that's very unlike Tyrese. He did hit a 3 after that. I will say the other one was a travel in the second half, where we're not used to seeing him get called for any of those kind of moves either. So those were kind of uncharacteristic, but you bring up the point stuff, and that was everything Richard Jefferson was hammering home in the fourth quarter, and I thought the analysis was horrible. So I'm going to give you a chance here to tell me why you think he only had 5 points in the first half.
Well, Lou Dort is all over. Lou Dort's defending him very, very well. But I just felt like there was a time where Tyrese had, it might have been like 5 shots from the field, 4 of them from 3. And I'm like, come on. And then at one point, he hit maybe, I think, 3 made field goals at the time. 2 of them were floaters. And I'm like, keep going to it. Go to your floater a little bit more. Try and get towards, the rim. Because
did you see those there before that fourth quarter?
I felt like he was driving to the rim at times, but turning around and then passing the ball behind him where you're not looking at the rim to score. So I felt like he could have put more shots up in that floaterish range, but I felt like he wasn't looking to attack as much. So I just feel like that's something that, like, you look at the box score at this point, he had 0 free throws in this game. I understand why. A lot of them were not like going towards the rim, putting yourself in a position to draw contact. So I just think that we won game 1. I'm thrilled that we did when he had 14 points. But are you going to be able to keep winning these games if Tyrese is giving you 5 to 10 points going into the fourth quarter? It's going to be really tough when we're not comparing him to SGA, when SGA is going to get his 30 plus.
Yeah, it's to me, it's such a hard conversation. I mean, we've been talking about this all year long, and I think if you just look at the box score and say, oh, he only had 5 points in the first 3 quarters, he's terrible. You got to look at what OKC did. OKC's a great defense. And look, Definitely. You talk about he didn't drive enough, right? There was one where he actually did drive and he was looking to score. But what happened? SGA stripped him, because when you drive against OKC, they collapse. And so the scouting report is, hey, if you drive, kick the ball out because they're collapsing. And they did that a lot. And he did have good looks for passes. Then they'd make shots. I mean, how many times in the first quarter did we see the Pacers get wide open looks that they just weren't hitting? I think it took until Andrew Nembhard's corner 3 for them to finally hit a 3. I think Mathurin had a catch and shoot corner 3 and Toppin had one in the first quarter. But before that, I mean, Turner had so many good looks on that pick and pop, and he just missed them until the third quarter. I think he even missed the first couple in the third quarter as well. So I wasn't totally disappointed with Tyrese Haliburton's process of what he was looking at. But you're talking about like Lou Dort, a very physical, All-NBA first-team defender. I mean, that dude is a brick wall, and Haliburton is not. Haliburton is a very slender player that is not going to use his body. He's not a guy that's going to get to the foul line a lot because it's not his game. And so when I look at the box score and I'm like, okay, and Richard Jefferson just kept saying, where was this at in the beginning of the game? It's like, OKC took their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter, number one. And number two, if you look at some of the different adjustments Indiana made, he said it after Haliburton got that dunk. That dunk only happened because Pacers ran a pick and roll, and then here comes Ben Shepherd on another weak side screen, setting a screen on Holmgren, who's trying to switch on to Haliburton, and then Haliburton got a clear look. It's like those kind of plays were not being run for Haliburton to get looks at all in the first three quarters. So while I'm not trying to defend Haliburton for not having a better scoring night, I'm just saying the looks weren't there. And honestly, I felt like Indiana, they once again kind of got way too late into the shot clock with their shot attempts. I mean, how many times was it down to the final 7 seconds before they start looking for their shot? And that's a lot of credit to OKC's defense for forcing them to play late into the shot clock. And they were doing one thing that, I had Brett Evans on this past weekend just talking with me about, this game. And one thing he brought up is playing with pace versus playing rushed. And you could tell the Pacers were rushed by OKC's defense at times, trying to make some really stupid shots when they should have just played with more pace and not get themselves sped up, making dumb decisions. So I just feel like there's a lot of context that needs to be added to the Haliburton conversation besides what we heard on air tonight on TV.
Yeah, it's not all about the scoring, but that's what I'm saying before. Look, shooters were missing shots. But like I said, you could live with Tyrese not scoring that much if it's generating points for the offense. Neither was happening tonight. Yeah. I just felt like this is, 6 points, 5 assists. That is as unlike Tyrese as it gets. And I just feel like if that's the type of game that's going to happen, we're probably not going to win those type of games. So I think that when you talk about playing in pace and all that, like just 9 fast break points for the Pacers in this game, it's not really Pacers basketball. It was hard. They weren't able to kind of force those turnovers and kind of get out and run as much as maybe they like to. I felt like they just didn't get good looks tonight. And, you could say from the field, like I said coming into this game, what could the Pacers do if they cut down the turnovers? I said I targeted maybe 15 turnovers or so and had somewhat of an equal amount of shots. Tonight they had both teams had 82 shots from the field. And Indiana cut down their turnovers. They actually did it. They went from 25 to I think it was 15. Didn't make a difference, unfortunately, tonight. So it just shows that it's not always going to be about one type of thing. Sometimes it's just playing together as a team. And I felt like tonight Indiana just simply did not have it. OKC was more physical. I felt like they got those 50-50 balls they were batting around. They were getting offensive rebounds. They were getting some loose balls. They got to the free throw line more in this game. I felt like this was just a game that the Thunder absolutely outperformed the Pacers. 107 we know is not really the mark. Indiana, if they're going to win, they got to get to that 111, 112 type of mark. But obviously OKC just they played that much better than Indiana tonight. And understandable. A must-win at home before you go on the road. That's got to be one of the toughest to win.
Yeah, and let's talk about this. 2 points off turnovers, just 11 for Indiana given up. In the previous game, I think I had said maybe it was 9, but I think they did end up recounting that one from pivot fade that you talked about. It was the one TJ McConnell threw away to Jalen Williams at the top of the key when it went up to, I think, a 12-point deficit last game. So just 11 last game, but 14 points off turnovers this game, and they committed 10 less turnovers.
Yeah.
That's the difference to me. Mm-hmm. Just because OKC's defense was so good. But I really do think it was the double A's that killed Indiana, and that was Aaron Wiggins and Alex Caruso. The fact that they were able to put up 38 points combined off the bench, I mean, I felt like every time Aaron Wiggins was open, it was going in. I mean, that guy was, lightning in a bottle out there from three. So definitely felt like that played a factor. And I felt like a lot of those looks came off of Indiana scrambling defensively. And I think that, to me, was how they defended SGA. I felt like they allowed SGA to get comfortable being a passer. He has 8 assists in this game, Facci. And I think that, to me, is a big difference maker because he said he needs to be a better passer. He needs to add that element to his game a little bit more because he's a great player. I mean, this guy can score at will. He can get to the free throw line. He's a 6'6". He's a guard. I mean, he's a very talented player.
MVP.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like,
he is as good as it gets.
Yes, the Pacers have not played somebody this good, in the playoffs so far. I mean, Giannis is great. I mean, you might say Giannis is better than SGA overall, but still, it's totally different how they score, and the team around them makes a huge difference as well. But I didn't feel like Jalen Williams. Like, he had a good game, but like not that great. Nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing substantial where I'm like, oh my God, like J-Dub dominated. Same with Chet. Like Chet had moments, but it wasn't like Chet was like this super impactful player for 48 minutes. I felt like the majority of their contributions came from what I felt like was maybe some of their better lineups with Wiggins and Caruso out there on the floor. And then, of course, I thought Hartenstein was very impactful in this game as well. I mean, I know the group chat tonight was talking a lot about the moving screens that he never gets called for. But still, I just, their bench units have been better to me than the starting five for OKC, and Indiana's bench unit to me has been kind of a drop off.
Big time. So 48 points off the bench for OKC tonight. Just 9 of 18 shooting from, I said not just, but 9 of 18 shooting from three from just Caruso and Wiggins. So it's like those guys were just huge.
Lethal.
Yeah, they were lethal. They were deadly. Whatever words you want to plug in, they were that. And for Indiana's bench tonight, like, Mathurin has 14. He gets a bunch of them late. I feel like McConnell had a same type of situation. Does a bunch of his scoring late in the game. They had nothing going. Obi Toppin the previous game was awesome. 17 points, just 3 points tonight. You couldn't really get any type of contributions out of really, kind of just about anyone off the bench, I would say, consistently of when this game was within reach. There was just nothing going on. I believe it was that OKC outscored Indiana's bench 48-34. So just not great. I think from 3-point land, Indiana 35%. We had seen that before. I mean, this is the hottest, the best 3-point shooting team in the playoffs. They shot 45% last game. So you got to be better from 3-point land. You got to have some more scores that can Mathurin and Obi have it going at the same time off the bench. If they can, Indiana's bench is going to be that much better. But I also just feel like from this starting lineup, you talked about Siakam earlier. 3 of 11. 3 of 11 from the field. I want to say maybe 2 of those makes might have been early on in the first quarter. He had 9 points at halftime. That means he had 6 for the second half. All 6 of those came in the third quarter. Scoreless in the fourth, not a big deal. You saw how it went, but I just feel like for Siakam to only have 3 made shots and maybe one of them came in the final 3 quarters, that is definitely just not going to be good enough.
Yeah, he looked a little frustrated out there too, and I mean, you could tell in the mic'd up moment when Haliburton's like, keep sealing, I'll get it to you. Just keep sealing, I'll get it to you. You could tell like Pascal's body language after that was just kind of like super annoyed, and I felt like the Pacers looked gassed at the end of the second quarter by OKC's defense. I mean, this is probably the first time I've seen Indiana look tired with what they were doing offensively, just because they didn't know where to go. I mean, the defense from OKC was suffocating, and look, I'm just going to address this here for our fans that are listening. I don't really care about the Thunder fans, but I put on Twitter, I was like, I feel like, to me, they were calling a lot of hand-checking fouls on Mathurin versus SGA, but they'd never call that for Dort or Caruso. Those guys can hug you. I mean, they called an off-ball foul on Siakam for hugging Caruso before the ball was even inbounded. I mean, how many times do I see Caruso out there holding Siakam's hand before the plays even started? I'm not complaining. I'm not saying that's why the Pacers lost, but I will say OKC's defenders, like their top defenders, get away with a lot more than what they're allowing Indiana to do. I think part of it's reputation, part of it's just like flow of the game, things like that. But, I just feel like the officiating in this game overall from both sides to me was pretty bad. I felt like in game 1 it was very good. I thought it was a very even called game. This one, I mean, they missed a lot of stupid stuff. Like
Thomas Bryant should have had a goaltend. They didn't call that. They totally missed it. Richard Jefferson saw it. He pointed it out. It's like, I mean, that was just a badly missed call. And that was one that should have went against us. So if we say that, it just shows it wasn't the best officiating.
And then Myles right there in front of Ben Taylor. Obviously, it's the ball off last. And like Ben Taylor's about to call it for OKC ball and then switches it. Because Myles looks at him and calls it that way. It was Ben Taylor's first game. And I mean, we've heard, Fred VanVleet get fined for making comments about Ben Taylor in the post-game press conference.
Yes,
I don't think Ben Taylor is a good ref. I'll just be honest with you. Like, I'm not complaining about officiating in this game. I just thought it was bad both ways. I just didn't feel like it was a very consistent whistle. Like Indiana was in the penalty in the third quarter, like with like 2 minutes into the quarter, and they only had 2 free throws after that. So it's just kind of like, what happened here? I mean, Indiana was definitely more aggressive. They had 33 points in the third and fourth quarters. I mean, they outscored OKC in the second half, but it to me, this game was lost. If we really want to get back to it, this game was lost at the end of the first and beginning of the second.
Totally.
I mean, it was 27-33 after Mathurin hit a shot with about 9-ish minutes left in the second quarter, the Pacers went scoreless for about 5 minutes until Aaron Nesmith hit like a jumper in between that. So they were outscored like 19-2, I think was the run. And then they go on a 10-0 run to kind of cut the gap a little bit, close the gap a little bit, and then OKC out of a timeout goes on a 5-0 run. So basically just erase that almost all the way away. So to me, that is where the game was lost. They were within striking distance for a little bit in that second quarter, but when they got on that huge run and Indiana had no flow offensively, I thought, yeah, they're not coming back tonight. This is a totally different feel.
Yeah, no, that was the run that I mentioned earlier where I just feel like that's where the game was definitely lost. If you look at the second half and the fourth quarter could be a little bit tough to read into. Like Indiana outscores OKC in the second half, and they've done a good job making some sort of adjustments or showing more life in the second half. But you can't go down 20 points and just always expect to be able to pull a rabbit out of a hat. So I felt like that second quarter is definitely what did them in. I looked it up. Siakam didn't have a made field goal in the second half. All three of those came in the first half. Everything else from the free throw line in the third quarter. So definitely disappointing. But we know that like Haliburton, despite what the box score says with 17 points, it wasn't the best 17 that you're going to get. Haliburton, Siakam, got to be better. Nembhard, we talked about how awesome he was. Last game around, I feel like this was just one where, hey, SGA was just more of a handful. He was just better. And I feel like for Nembhard, really, really tough assignment. Turner, we mentioned the bulk of his 16, 10 of which came in the third quarter. So this Pacers team, they're going to lick their wounds. They'll respond. They're going to come back home to Indiana in Game 3. This is a Pacers team we've talked about. Has not lost back-to-back games in months on months. Well, we mentioned before, while it's technically, I guess, it's with Haliburton, it's like February or so is the last
December
time.
with Haliburton.
So it's December with Haliburton is the last time they lost back-to-back games. Overall, as a team, they haven't lost back-to-back games since about February. So it's been great. We'll see if that trend can continue, because if Indiana can steal one back and get the lead 2-1, and you still have the next game at home, man, that's when anything could happen. But I believe that the whole fan base had to have expected OKC's best punch tonight, given the way that game one ended, where they led all throughout except for that last shot. And this is a loss that, not to say that I'm all right with, but this is a loss that I could regroup and say, hey, you know what? This team's going to be better in Game 3. They cut down some turnovers, they did some stuff, but like they lost this game early on in the second quarter.
Yeah, I think if you say at the end of the day the Pacers split with OKC in the first two games, you feel content with it. I feel like every series that we've played in, if you would have told me they would have split 1-1, going back with home court advantage now in a 5-game series, you feel better about it. However, the way this one feels a little different, like you just said, OKC has led for about 94 of the 96 minutes in both games. Indiana hit a game-winning shot with 0.3 of a second left, and they led for 1 minute and 53 seconds tonight in this game. That's it. So, I mean, really, if you think about it, it's an average of 2 minutes that they've led for both games, like total, not an average. It's just 2 minutes, basically, if you round up. So, yeah, that is a little bit scary, a little bit problematic, and it does kind of show you how OKC's been the more dominant team for the most part, and there is a reason why people are saying this feels very 2001 NBA Finals-esque, where the 76ers stole game one against the Lakers, but then lost the next four. I will say the reason I don't necessarily feel like that is the case is because of, like you said, how good Indiana has been at not losing back-to-back games. And then I also think the fact that Indiana is so good at home, right? They haven't lost the game 2 all playoff series long. They lose their first game 2. The problem is they haven't won a game 3 all playoff series long. So now they got to buck the trend there. They got to switch it. They got to end that streak as well, because if they go down 2-1 but then still win game 4 and make it a 2-2 game series, yeah, I mean, you're playing with you're playing with house money at that point. But to me, it's a little bit nerve-wracking going back to OKC tied 2-2. So if Indiana really wants to avoid losing 2 games in a row, I think they need to win both games in Indianapolis, because if you go to OKC tied 2-2 and you lose game 4, I would be shocked if they win game 5 on the road. Just, it's been hard for them to win those games back on the road after having some home court advantage. But the role players from OKC do not play as well on the road. We've seen that throughout this playoffs. So Pacers still have a good chance of at least making it a 2-2 series before it goes back to OKC. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they win game 3, Facci. I think it's very much on the table here.
I really hope it is. I mean, can you really lose every game 3? I mean, you're at home in that situation for the majority of them.
For 2 of them, you have been.
Yeah. So with this one, this will be the
3
third.
now.
It's just like, yeah, it's like the odds are in your favor. Plus, it's like, come on, selfishly, it's like I'm gonna be there, please. Like I bought my ticket, I've got my I got everything.
Let's just talk about this for a second though, because when you're up 2-0, right, like you're going to get the other team's best punch in game 3.
100%.
I think you have to kind of expect that, number one, and then number two, maybe you take your foot off the gas a little bit. Like Indiana was up by 20 points against New York. They should have won game 3. They should have been up 3-0. Like they allowed Cat to go off in the fourth quarter and lost that game. Against Cavs, they got completely obliterated in that game 3. Just ran out the court, but ran off the court. I think they'll be okay in this scenario because this is the first time they're going back home with their kind of backs against the wall where they have to win.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a different spot to be in. When you're up 2-0, you do feel like you got some wiggle room. Every game from here on out should feel like a must win. It really should. But in front of your home crowd, like I was watching, man. I mean, everybody was, but like that OKC crowd, like that was a rocking crowd that was really into it, and that was not to say intimidating, but it was just like, man, I can't wait till we bring it for game 3 because our crowd's got to give it every day. I don't know what Caitlin Clark's schedule is looking like, but it's
like got to get in the building.
We got to get her in the building. I mean, that's just how it goes. Everyone's got to do their part. So if we can get Caitlin in there, that would be fantastic. Gamebridge is going to be awesome. It's going to be rocking. The game 3, trend, it's got to end. And I really feel like this Pacers team can respond with a little bit of extra juice, coming. Plus, this team also hadn't played since Thursday. These are some longer layoffs,
Yeah.
It really is. And not to say that affected anything, but I just felt like, man, I was like kind of game 1 felt like a long time ago. So we're going to have to wait a while. We're recording this on Sunday night. The game is not until Wednesday. So we do have some more time. It's not that every other game type of thing that we saw kind of against New York. But nonetheless, Indiana's got to throw the excuses out, and they gotta be able to, kind of pounce on OKC early on, because this hasn't been a Pacers team that in this series we talked about. If you only led for about 1 minute and 54 seconds, you really haven't led convincingly. It's not like they've ever been like, hey, Pacers are up 7 or Pacers are up 6. Or nope, it's been, all right, maybe they're up 1, maybe they're up 2, and that's about it.
Yeah, they had a good start to the quarter in the first quarter. Felt like they were much more under control. They were hitting their shots, but then all of a sudden they started missing a bunch. And they only scored 20 points in the first quarter, and I was like,
Yeah.
You can't be having those. You can't be having those kind of stinker quarters, especially when it felt like they played all right.
I thought they did except for the what kind of one other thing, and I know I'm cutting you off, but like we talked about how they ended it bad. Like Pascal Siakam had a wide open 3, and he had like a brain fart, and he just didn't shoot it until it's too late. And of course, to make it worse, he makes it, and it's like, what were you doing, man? Like, so I don't know what
he took his time. He set himself up, and he shoots it like he normally would if it was like 8 minutes left in the second quarter.
Yeah.
But it's like you have to be aware of like the shot clock situation, and he just brain farts and just takes his time. And like the time he released it, the buzzer was already going off, so it was like a whole second too late. I'm like, man, Pascal, like that. I don't know, but I do think that's a good point that you bring up about just like the 2 days off in between each game. Like, let's be honest. There's no other basketball games going on right now, so this is the only thing people are talking about. I mean, I looked yesterday at the Pacers media sessions that they had in between games. I think they had a media session on Saturday. It's like an hour and 20 minutes of content, like talking to the players about the games. Like, we just got too much going on here. And then, of course, when you lose like you did, if you're OKC, you have to hear that for 2 days in a row. And it's just like, okay, I'm tired of hearing about how we blew this game and how great Haliburton is. Like, they got lucky. That's how I would feel if I'm an OKC fan or a Thunder player. Like, we were the better team for 45 minutes of this game, 46 minutes of this game. They played 2 minutes better than us, and they ended up winning it. We let this one go. We're ready to pounce back and get our lick back, get our revenge back, and they did in tonight's game. But I just think that if it was only like, okay, day off, play the next day, like it's probably not talked about as much, but because there's been such a layoff, it's all that we've been hearing about. And so I do think that it's one of those things that was probably weighing on their minds too. And Indiana probably, getting a little bit up for themselves as well. I mean, I think Myles Turner said it best before the game, like, we want to be greedy. We want to go out there and get the game. But I thought honestly, like if we want to pivot here, just be a little more positive, I felt like what we saw from Myles in that third quarter could hopefully be something that is a springboard for what he could do in Game 3. Because I feel like if you look at probably the last 7.5 games from Turner, if you don't include the second half tonight, I felt like he's been pretty mediocre. For the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for a lot of these guys to break out. I mean, we just talked about game one. I mean, we won that game. Haliburton has 14. Siakam gives you 19. Turner had 15 in that last game and 16. Like, these are guys that, like, who's breaking out? Who's giving us that 25-point game? Like, we're due. We've seen some epic performances from like a Pascal Siakam. Like, okay, that's going to happen. But for right now, for Turner, he's due for a bigger game in this, and I feel like there's times that, like, let's just pull up the stats. It's 16 points in this game. It's 15 against OKC. It's 11 in the closeout game against the Knicks. It's 5 before that. It's 13 points. You can make an argument, okay, points aren't everything. The rebounds haven't been there either. He had 4 boards tonight. He had 9 in game 1, so that's always a solid Myles game. But some of the other ones are 2 boards against the Knicks, 2 boards, 3, 4, 3, 5. Like, we're due for a better Turner performance where he's good for, I don't know, 20 and 7, 20 and 8, whatever it is, makes it rain from 3 a little bit. Like, we're due to see some of that. He's 3 of 10 so far in the 2 games in this series. So not a great performance. I think overall the team is just due for a breakout kind of explosion. I mean, 107 points in this game, 111 in game 1. So you're talking about averaging about 109 points per game through the first 2 games. Not really Pacers basketball. I think something's going to click. It could be game 3. I hope it's game 3 where they could just maybe go off for 120 or more. And if they do, and they're running transition, they're getting stops, and it's leading to second chance points and fast break points, all of that stuff. That's when the Pacers are at their best. And I feel like tonight they couldn't really ever get out there and run. And that really kind of held them back from never really being a threat in this game.
I think it's going to be hard to run against this team. I just think
it is.
The way that OKC plays defense, they are tough. They get out and like they're beating the Pacers down the court. Like I felt like all the 50-50 balls for the most part went to OKC tonight.
100%.
Besides that one possession when Indiana had like 4 offensive rebounds and like I think they got a foul on that maybe. I can't remember, but it was rough. I mean, Indiana just looked like they were just a step slow. Like there was one, I think Chet fell on the ground in the first quarter, and Nembhard didn't go to like jump ball him, and then he was like trying to deny the basketball for him to pass it to, and then Pascal just kind of looks over at him, like doesn't go down there and dive on the ball to like force a jump ball, and it's just like little things like that. You could just tell like everything that they were just supposed to be sharper in, they weren't, and OKC was. OKC, I mean, I'm giving them a lot of credit. I don't want to sit here and act like, they didn't do anything.
They were the better team tonight by far.
They were awesome. They were awesome.
There was no point that I was just like, oh yeah, no, Pacers got them right where they want them. That definitely didn't happen. OKC, it was just like, man, like I said, even their role players were like great tonight, and I just felt like no Pacer was great tonight. No Pacer was really even like good. You had like
it's like 2 or 3 minute stretches.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. Is like a couple of minutes at a time where, okay, this Turner's doing really good right now, or okay, you know what, Haliburton's doing really good, but it wasn't at the same time, and I think that was a big difference.
Yeah, I mean, Nesmith got to go in there at the end of the third, and then they pull him out and don't play him to start the fourth. I'm like, if you got a guy hitting him like that, and you're like trying to make a little run here to see if you can cut the lead to whatever, why do you put Shepherd in? I mean, Shepherd didn't play with the original bench rotation, kind of came in late into the game. I don't know. Thomas Bryant was not very impactful in this game tonight. I don't know how much of an impact he's going to be up against Hartenstein. And I was laughing because I saw people on Twitter saying like this bench needs remade over in the offseason. I'm like, they're in the NBA Finals. Like, can we just calm down? Like,
I know. It's just I hate that because I was telling you off air. I was getting texts from people like, man, the Pacers going to blow this one. It's like, What? What are we supposed to sweep OKC now? Like, This is like the expectations get all over the place. It's 1-1, and we've led for under 2 minutes. That's a blessing. All right. Game 3. True. If you're going to be in the arena, bring it. All right. Everyone's got to do their part. This is going to be an atmosphere that I don't think any of us have ever experienced before. I know you went to quite a few playoff games this year, and I bet it was awesome. All right. But this is going to be next level. We're tied in the NBA Finals with a chance to really, to go up 2-1. Man, you can't ask for anything better than that. When I bought these tickets and I knew that the Pacers were, challenged in game threes, I was saying, please don't let this be like a game where they're already down 0-2 and now it doesn't work out well. And man, we have a chance to be up and lead in the series. That's all you can ask for at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I think Game 3 is going to be rocking. I think the fan base is going to be excited. They're going to bring it. They always have been. I know the tickets are crazy through the roof.
Yeah. Only getting more expensive. I read that they went up like 33% after the Pacers won game 1. Yeah. So if you thought they were bad about a week ago, they're worse now. So I'm glad I bought my ticket when I did.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're doing the watch parties for like $5 a ticket. It's like people that want to bring their families to like enjoy the game, but they can't afford $1,000 tickets to sit up in the nosebleeds. Like, Facci's over here just dropping money left and right. But
and this is a life experience so hey, I can't miss this. But I tell you, I won't be in the building for game 4. All right.
Yeah, so, I mean, when you're sitting in front row of the balcony, I know you already dropped about $1,000 on tickets. We're not going to get into how much you spent, but
it was expensive. I don't.
It's going to be good for your tax write-off for this business trip.
Yes, absolutely. But
take care of all your taxes, basically.
Hey, look, this is going to be a good one. But at the same point, I could not miss this. I couldn't miss it, guys. If you're going to be there, like we got to meet you, Alex and I. We still got to hash out some details on what we want to do and lock something down, especially for those of you that can't go to the game, because like we said, it is really expensive. So we don't want this to be, hey, if you can't, if you're not going to be in the building, then you're out of luck. We want to set something up where we can shake as many hands, meet as many people, and just thank you guys for all the support that has gone to the show over the years. But in specific, the run that we're on right now, I mean, oh my God, you guys are relentless right now for wanting more Pacer content, and we could not be more thankful for that.
Yeah, we'll give you guys details on tomorrow's episode of a meet and greet location if you're going to be at the game. And for those that won't be at the game, we'll try and find a spot to meet as well. I do know that after talking to some people that have been going to a lot of the games, that you might have to have a ticket to get into the court area on the outside where it's like an outdoor court. It's like the Bicentennial Plaza is what it's called. I think you might have to have a ticket to be able to get into those areas. So might not do the meet and greet there, but somewhere along the lines out there, maybe by like Pearl Street Pizza or something like that. We'll figure it out. I just want to make sure that we definitely get to, give those fans a chance that want to hang out, say hi, whatever, before the game. Let us know. And if you're interested in meeting up, hit one of us up on social media. Our DM should be open. If not, you can email us or email me at alexgoldennba@gmail.com, and I would gladly coordinate something with everybody. So we just want to do something to give back to our fans, and we're going to be doing a live show with just the two of us, though. Obviously, but we're going to be together in the same room for the first time and not on the Zoom call. So not sure exactly where we're recording that either. So going to try to figure out all the details to that. But it's getting here closely. It'll be here before we know it. But we got an episode coming out tomorrow. Ryan Hammer, who is a great college basketball analyst and watches basketball just in general. He's been paying attention closely to these NBA finals and NBA playoffs. So good to get his perspective, and then maybe talk a little bit of draft, because look, Facci, the draft is just a couple weeks away.
It's going to sneak up on us. We're never going to see it coming because we are just so blinded by trying to get a ring, trying to get a championship, that it's like, man, the draft, a word that we used to talk about in February, March, and April, has now gotten pushed back to, mid-June, maybe even late June.
Probably late June at this point.
I'm hoping it's as late as it gets, but I think at this point it's still always fun to wonder what if. But man, that's just going to be like a little appetizer, because we're still going for this ring. 1-1, couldn't ask for anything better than that.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll definitely talk about that. And then tonight there was some awesome reporting from Shams Charania. I think we should end the podcast with this. The Pacers and Myles Turner have mutual interest to come to a new contract, which we all kind of expected that would be the case.
No one doubted that.
But what was really interesting is he said that ownership is willing to go into the luxury tax to keep this team together. So
first time in over 20 years. So yeah. I think that is great to know that they're not going to be content. You don't want it to be like, well, we proved what we could do not paying the tax. So you know what? Why not just like run it back or whatever it is? Like, no, this is a team that knows, hey, if you're this close, what could you do if you're willing to invest just a little bit more? Because this type of run that they're on, the Pacers and OKC being non-taxpayers, that's not going to last for long. We know that's not going to last for long. There's certain contracts that are going to increase in value as time goes on, but Turner is such a vital piece to this team that we just wanted to hear the report. We knew and we believed, hey, of course there's got to be mutual interest, but get the reports out there. Hearing that was very encouraging to know this team is committed to winning for the long haul.
Yeah, I think it's great to hear, right? Because at the end of the day, like this team, maybe they're ahead of schedule in terms of being in the NBA Finals in 2025, but still they're here. And I think that when you see a team that's played this well in the Eastern Conference playoffs, it gives you hope they could get back there. They're still young, they're still improving. And Myles Turner obviously is a huge part of this team. Every championship team, they still end up making some type of roster move just because somebody leaves or they have to make some kind of move at some point just to change things up a little bit because of contracts and whatever. But yeah, they're going to mostly bring the same team back. I don't really think there's any free agents outside of Thomas Bryant and Isaiah Jackson. So obviously got to address that. Maybe they do look on the market to see if there is a better option at the backup five, but still it's hard to find something that kind of fits what you want. So, and they still have Tony Bradley on a team option, which they could bring him back for a third string center if they want to just go that route to be cheaper, which he's been, obviously someone they could play in the playoffs at certain times if they need him to, which I kind of think is what you want in a third string center, someone you don't have to rely on, but someone that you can trust to go to at times if you feel like you need to. But yeah, I think that it would be good to just ask Ryan about what potential draft picks could be on the board there, just so you kind of have an idea as we're still talking playoffs. But that'll obviously not be the focal point of the podcast, just another addition to some content we're talking about. But I think with Myles Turner, you just got to bring Myles back. Absolutely. At all cost. I mean, we keep seeing the retread reports about Detroit having interest. Jake Fisher put that out today. I like Jake Fisher as a person. I've met Jake Fisher in person before, but let's be honest. Most of the time, the news that he reports is stuff that is a couple of weeks old. It's like the old news cycle of stuff that's already kind of been out there.
Yeah. When I saw that report, I almost wanted to say, like, LOL. It's like, yeah, I bet Detroit does have interest in Myles Turner, but, like, is it going to happen? I really don't think so. Like, I just think that, like, the Turner Indiana fit, like, if he stuck with us through times that weren't that great and we're in the NBA Finals, you think Turner's going to want to leave this team, and I think you think that Indiana's going to not want to bring Turner back. They will get a deal done. Saw a report where I believe is saying, it could be in that $30 million range or so, and that's what's probably expected. It is what it is, and at this point, you can't be pinching pennies. We're in the NBA Finals. This is what it takes. So one other thing that I want to comment on, while I don't know if the status has been updated, we heard coming into the NBA Finals that Jarris Walker was going to, be out for at least the first 2 games. Saw a picture of him spotted on crutches. It doesn't look like he's anywhere close. I find it hard to believe that the man's going to be from on crutches earlier today to then playing in like a game 3 or so. I think mentally probably imagine that he's probably not back this series. And I think that, that it could be worse. Like, I think at this point, Jarris Walker was someone who wasn't playing that much in the rotation. We saw some sparks against New York, but I think at this point, hey, if for getting somewhat close to mid-June, if that's really the main injury that we have right now, then knock on wood, hey, this Pacers team has really held up.
Yeah, I think Jarris Walker would be very impactful in this series, though.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, we would take everybody that we can get. And Jarris, I mean, I think would be definitely has a skill set we'd be able to use. But I just can't imagine him coming back at this point when you're on crutches.
No, I mean, he looked like he was hobbling on that one crutch. Did you see the video?
Yes. It didn't look encouraging.
No, I'm like, if this guy's playing in a week, I'll be shocked. Like, this did not look great. I mean, you're talking about, like, it won't even be a week by Friday. So
it's just, it can't happen,
Yeah. I mean, it was a nasty fall. I mean, the fact that he had to, like, crawl himself out of position and then get help to the locker room, then came back to celebrate the Eastern Conference Finals victory to, with the Knicks or against the Knicks on crutches, like that to me was just like, that's not a great sign. I mean, it sucks because I feel like he was actually impactful in 2 of those games against the Knicks.
Yes, he was starting to really like carve out a spot for him after really not playing much.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small role. It's not like he's having this significant role, but still, I mean, just that you don't have that option to play. It does limit them a little bit. Like you said, Obi Toppin just 3 points, and at times could they have played him over Toppin in this series?
Probably.
Tonight, at least, maybe give you something different, somebody different to throw at Shea, a little bit bigger body. I mean, I don't know if I asked you about this, but were you a little bit surprised that Mathurin was guarding Shea when Nesmith was on the floor?
Yeah. I did see that. And there was a time that I remember Doris Burke was talking about how, Mathurin's being physical with them and Shea just still hit the shot. I mean, he is that good. So it's like Mathurin, we know he's overmatched there. Everyone's just about overmatched, but it's not the ideal matchup that you want to see.
No, not at all. So Other than that, I really don't have anything else to say
Got
about
one last thing, just on a high note.
Okay, I was going to go on a funny note, so we'll end with your high note and my funny note.
Just a high note. I'm sure we all believe this is the last year for James Johnson. I mean, year 16, the man's in the NBA Finals now. He gets in late, gets a bucket. I just feel like for James Johnson to have been able to score in an NBA Finals game, hey, that's like this is the year to be able to go out on that. So once it got late in the game, all you could really root for was could Johnny Furphy get a bucket and could James Johnson get a bucket in the NBA Finals? James Johnson, hey, he got that. I was happy about that, and I feel like that man can always say he scored in the NBA Finals.
How is it a high note to say this could be James Johnson's last year? That seems
No,
like
I'm
a
just
sad
saying
note.
the high note was that he scored in an NBA Finals game.
Yeah, why did you have to bring up that this might be his last year?
Well, because this probably is it. Well, you're going to come back after this? You're in the NBA Finals, year 16. The man's like 38 years old. It's like, I can't.
He's not playing. What he's collecting a paycheck to be the team bodyguard.
He is. I know. And I appreciate him. I'm just wondering at this age, 38, turning 39 next year, we made a finals run. How long could it keep going?
Is he that old already?
Yeah, man. He turns 39 in February. So it's like
he's a cheap contract. They like him for the team
I love
reasons.
look, they like him, we love him. He's always welcome. Always welcome. But when you are a finals team and you are looking at, hey, how do we make like a little bit of, moves here and there? We got limited room. I don't know who you're going to add that's going to be able to provide more of an impact. But, James Johnson, hey, he survived crazier times with the Pacers. I'll say that.
Happens. I'm not ready to write him off yet, Facci. That's the only thing I'll say.
I'm just happy for him. That's all I'm saying.
I'm happy for him too.
He scored in an NBA Finals game at the end of the game in a blowout. That made me go, you know what? Hey, let me clap it up for James. I'm happy about that.
Okay, last thing for me, and maybe this is just a stupid observation, but can we just talk about how ugly Kenrich Williams' hair is? Like, what kind of hairdo is that? I mean, he has it shaved, and then there's an extra part on the back of his neck that it looks like it's supposed to be connected, wannabe fake mullet, and then he just shaved the connecting part off there by the back of his neck. I'm like, this is if I was doing the good, bad, and the ugly, I would write this in the ugly column every single episode.
Hey, it's an interesting hairstyle. It's definitely not one I can pull off, but look, we want to talk about ugly also. What about the court? What about the court? They heard the complaints. They said that they're going to put the Larry O'Brien trophy on there, but it's going to be a digital mini trophy on the court.
Tiny trophies.
It looked so bad. It was just two tiny little trophies on there. It's no, we want the old school massive Larry O'Brien at mid court, or we don't want anything. So I feel
I think they'll have it for Game 3, the painted on NBA Finals trophy.
But I do not expect that. I do not. I think
somebody actually commented on my thing and they said they might, because if you think about it, they heard it on Thursday night. So that gives them all the way from Friday to Wednesday to have it made. I don't think it should take them 5 days to get that done. I mean, they're the freaking NBA.
I just feel like they have what they're doing now, and they're just keeping it this. But it was a bad look tonight. It was a bad look.
They took it away after the first quarter, and then in the second quarter they put the finals on there with the YouTube TV sponsorship below, and I thought that looked better. Yeah, and then you come back after halftime, and there it is again in the third quarter.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what time it changed again, but it might have been the fourth. They went to the finals just by itself with the YouTube TV thing, and I thought, what are they doing? Why do they keep changing it? The finals trophy on there looked awful, and it was slow to fade on, so you'd see it on free throws, and they just slowly bring it up. I'm like, this is terrible. This is not what anybody wants. Just leave the finals logo on there. I think that's fine. Yeah. At least we know it's the finals, but the Larry O'Brien trophy being minimalized is just ridiculous.
It's just so crazy. I mean, it couldn't have been any smaller, and you don't even know what is that? Is that a stain on your TV or it's just, come on, make the trophy bigger or don't give us the trophy at all. But hey, either way, that's all we got in a game that really wasn't that close. But let's regroup. Let's take a couple days to unfortunately get this bad taste out of our mouth. And Game 3 could really be something special. I mean, I physically know for me, it's going to be the greatest crowd I've ever been a part of. Hands down, never been a part of a more meaningful crowd, but also the atmosphere is going to be rocking. If you have a chance to be there, this I think could be one that maybe we might be telling our kids about for a long time. This is to go up 2-1. And right now, I don't know where this is coming from. I'm starting to get hyped right now. I need this. We need to go up 2-1. You have to split those games. You have to. But I feel man, there's just something about you don't want to lose 2 straight. And if the Pacers can win Game 3, anything can happen in this series.
From your lips to God's ears, Facci. Hopefully they can pull it off. Say your prayers, people. The Pacers need all the prayers they can get to overcome this Thunder defense and really get some offense going. They have not had any breakout game from any player yet so far in the first 2 games. So hopefully home court does kind of unlock somebody, whether it's a role player or Pascal Siakam or Tyrese. Somebody gets going. They find some ways to counter what OKC is doing defensively, and I think they will. I think they're going to figure some things out. And Tyrese addressed it in the post-game press conference that he's got to be better, got to find ways to get scoring earlier in the game. But at the end of the day, this is a great OKC team, and there's a reason why they won 68 games this year in the regular season. This is why they've only lost 2 home games to the Eastern Conference in the past 16 months, and they were both to the Pacers. So it's like they don't lose very often on their home court. That's why you got to take business of OKC on your home court, where you don't have to put yourself in a spot to go back and win 2 games in OKC, because that's going to be very difficult to do. But with that being said, Facci, we need to wrap this one up. So if you're not following us, we're at PacersPod STP on all social media platforms. He's at _FACCI. I'm at Alex Golden NBA, and if you're hoping the Pacers can get back on their winning ways after a tough loss in OKC for Game 3, then Facci, hit me with those 3 words.
Let's go, Pacers.